So today was my first day of school with students at UAS, and I'm not gonna lie, I was a little nervous going into this situation. I know how to teach, and I know that I'm good at teaching, but I kind of had this stuck in my head that I know how to teach American students, and really kind of got stuck with the fact that I was going to be teaching students from 35 different countries. So I kind of walked in this morning. I actually took an Uber with a friend of mine so that we could get there super early. So I was about an hour early for school. And I walked in and I got myself ready, and a couple of my students came in early too and sat down and introduced themselves. And from that moment, I kind of was like, oh, okay, I'm a teacher. So today was a B day. So we have A days and B days. On Mondays and Wednesdays are A days, and on Tuesdays and Thursdays we have B days. And then Fridays are kind of a special day. So we have all of our classes, but for a shorter amount of time. So today was B day. I have two classes on a B day, both of which are freshmen. So my first class is at 8 a.m., except we had an assembly this morning with the whole secondary school, where our principal went over all the basic beginning of school stuff and set some precedents and some expectations. And then they came to our classes. So kids got to my class at about 8:45, and my first block is really interesting. So I had this really awesome group of freshmen at HHS. I loved them. I really kind of fell in love with freshmen because of their class. And this group walked in and they really reminded me of that class. I had some very boisterous boys. In fact, I had to do that like, I'm watching you moment, and be that like teacher, hey, we're not gonna do that today. So I have those boisterous boys who all know each other, and then I've got these like sassy girls who like don't take shit from nobody. And they're fun. They're just fun kids. And the Latin student is very talkative. So that's something that I'm gonna have to get used to. I know that. And most of these kids have grown up together, and even if they haven't, even if they just got there or were there 2 years ago, they really kind of click super quickly. So, and they know all the teachers, they know all the students. It's a very small school, and that's very apparent as soon as they walk in. So I did my basic first day spiel. Had a lot of fun with the kids, and of course they asked me a billion questions and I asked them a billion questions, and I think they really like the fact that I don't speak Spanish, because they would look at me and then speak in English, and then they'd look at each other and speak in Spanish. I was like, okay. So when I finally learn, I'm not gonna tell them, and then all of a sudden I'm just gonna be like, blah. But yeah, so they're super fun. I'm going to have to get used to names. They're very unique names, and I think in that first block class I have 6, maybe 7 nations that are represented. So it's really a fun group. Anybody from Brazil to Israel to France, US, Chile, Uruguay, all of them. So fun class. And I really enjoyed having them, and I think it'll be like a good first class in the morning because they are very noisy. Then I have a break. So second block is a break where I just kind of get to plan a little bit. Somebody else is in my classroom during second block, so I go across the hall to the teacher's workroom with the coolest history teacher ever. And he and I just kind of sat there and talked for a little bit, and then we planned, and it was good. I think I'm gonna really enjoy being with him, and then also having that time to just kind of settle down after that first block class. And then I had third block. So third block is very small. I only have about 10 kids in that class, whereas the other one's 13, which the 3 kids makes the difference. And the third block class, I have students who are mostly from South American countries or US. So that one's really fun too. They're less noisy, but they also still like all know each other and like to bounce around. I have a lot of boys. I think the 9th grade is boy heavy, but those girls, man, they hold their own. They just sit right up and say shh to the boys. It's really fun. So both classes I gave I wanted to do some critical thinking lessons with them because we did have like almost 2 hours with each class. So I gave them a mystery. Somebody was murdered, and I gave out clues, and I gave them rules. And the rules were you could not get up from your seat, you could not show your clues to anybody else, you could not pass your clues, and the only way that anything could be shared was verbally. They could not write anything down. And then they had to pick a representative who was going to ask me if their answer was correct as to who was murdered, why, with what, when, and where. So they had to pick this representative, and I could answer if it was either correct or incorrect, but I would not tell them if any part was correct or incorrect. It was either all correct or all incorrect. And I was curious how this would work out because these kids, some of them, English is their second, third, fourth language. So I wondered how reading off the slip of paper and then listening to each other with these clues was going to work. And all of a sudden, immediately somebody took charge. They started reading their slips. They listened to each other better than I've ever had students listen to each other. And I think it's because English is not their first language for most of them. And they speak other languages, so they always are kind of listening extra hard. But they listened to each other. They started asking each other questions. Hey, would you repeat that? They came up with all of these really interesting ways to find the correct answer. And I loved it. I just sat back and I didn't have to say a word. All I had to say was correct or incorrect, and they just went off. It was so much fun to watch. And it made me realize that I really love freshmen. I love the fact that they're goofy. I love the fact that they're still a little immature, even though that immaturity can get a little bit tedious sometimes. You can shut them down really quickly when you need to. I like the fact that they still love to play and that they're curious and they're creative, and it's like the worldly hindrances or worldly inhibitions haven't been stifled yet or haven't been kind of infiltrated into their little minds yet. So super fun group of kids. No one blinked an eye about the fact that I didn't wear shoes. They asked why, but nobody was like, wait a second. The Americans usually are like, but these kids didn't care. They were like, okay, teacher, you do what you have to do. And they were really fun. So it was a really good first day. I have fourth block planning, again, both days. So both days I have fourth block off, which is so nice. I really appreciate the fact that I have 2 breaks today. That's really, really nice to have 2 breaks. But tomorrow is going to be a little bit more difficult because I have 7th grade, which I have not taught in a very long time. And then I've got my highest level. I've got my IB kids. So we're going to see how that goes. But today I really, really loved my kids, and I liked getting back into teaching. I was discussing it with my director when we walked into our classrooms today. I said, today was the first day that I actually felt comfortable because it was the first day where I was in my element. Out there in Uruguay, I'm completely out of my element. I'm constantly just lost. But in the classroom, I know what I'm doing. I know how to do this. I know when a kid gets loud and gets crazy, how to be like, yo, knock it off. So I felt better. I felt just comfortable today. Also, I really appreciate this about my school too. I constantly, because I have windows all around me. So I have the windows to the outside world, and then I've got windows into the flex area. So you can see into my classroom at all times. There is no hiding in my classroom. So what I really appreciated was the fact that as I was teaching, I was watching the principal, the director, everybody walking past and just observing. And I know that's silly. I know some teachers would be like, no, I don't ever want that to happen. But I really thought about it. I was like, this is the first day, right? This is the first day, and you have a presence. You have a presence of authority saying we care about what's happening. We want to see, we want to explore, we want to know how this first day is going for these students whose parents are paying $22,000, $3,000, $5,000 for their education. So that was really, really positive to me. And I wonder if it continues. Like, I really wonder if I'm just going to keep looking out and be like, oh, hey, Mr. Byrne. That was awesome. And I also loved after every single class, one teacher at least ran in asking me, how was your day? How are your kids? Constantly, how was your day? How are your kids? Did you like them? Are you feeling okay? Like, can I get you anything? They clearly want you to succeed. They want you to succeed and be a part of their community, and they want their kids to succeed. And they're proud of their kids. A lot of them had taught these kids for 2-3 years in a row, and they become their babies. So when you say like, oh man, I really do like this class, like they're interesting, they're like, I know, aren't they great? And then they start talking to you about all the kids. That was cool. Last thing that I'm gonna have to get used to though, every kid has 7 names, at least. One of them is their legal name, then they've got like 7 nicknames. So I may be like, oh yeah, you know, Fran, and they'll be like, you mean Francesca? Or you mean Francie? You mean so-and-so? I mean, it's like every teacher has a different nickname for the kid. So you have to kind of figure out like, who are you talking about? But considering that there's only 23 in the entire freshman class and I have every single one of them, it's not difficult. It's not difficult to kind of start to figure out who they're talking about. But all in all, great day. I'll let you know about tomorrow when I have the ones that I'm a little bit like about. At least I taught freshmen before. But I like it. I like it so far. It's good.